The seed beneath the soil. Living from the invisible. Good morning, beloved community. I'd like to share a scripture with you. It's from Hebrews, chapter 11 and verse 1. And I'll read from the King James Version this morning. How about that for a change? Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Just let that sit. That kind of sounds like it comes from A Course in Miracles, doesn't it? We'll explore what that might mean this morning. But I'd like to tell you a story first. Imagine you're out in your garden, and you dig up the soil, loosen it up nicely, and you plant a seed. You place it in the earth, and then cover it lightly with dirt. You give it some water, and then you walk away. For several days, nothing happens. At least it's nothing that you can see. Judging by appearances, you might say, well, that didn't work. But beneath the surface, under that soil, something extraordinary is happening. The seed coat is softening. Roots are beginning to emerge. Cells are dividing. Life is organizing itself according to an invisible pattern that's already contained in that seed that you planted. Faith is something like that. Faith is trusting that something may be happening beneath the surface, even when there is no visible evidence yet. Now, before we get too deep and get too serious, I'd like to share a joke with you. So this man, he prayed every night, sincerely, God, please let me win the lottery. Week after week, he prayed, God, please let me win the lottery. Finally, after months of this, a voice thundered from heaven, meet me halfway, buy a ticket. Sometimes faith means trusting God. And sometimes faith means giving God something to work with. It reminds me of one of our 5 tenets. Those tenets are listed in the insert in your bulletin. So what is faith? Our Bible verse that we had, it says faith is the substance. Faith is a substance? The substance of things hoped for, and the evidence of things not seen. It's substance and evidence of things hoped for and not seen. Like that seed that's planted? Emily Cady, when she was writing in Lessons in Truth, she gives us some insight into what this might mean. Faith, she says, reaches into the invisible substance of what we desire and brings into visible expression what previously could not be seen. This might be a very different sort of understanding of faith than what you're used to. Faith is not only believing something without evidence. This one really gets me. Faith is a spiritual faculty of perception. The evidence of things not seen. A spiritual faculty of perception. Now, have you ever thought of faith like that? It's the capacity to perceive possibility before possibility becomes appearance. In verse 2 in Hebrews, it says this: things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. It's also King James. I know it's New International Version in the pews. The pews have the New International Version in them. Oh, the verse. Hebrews 11, verse 3. So it's the next verse after the evidence of things not seen. Things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. Okay, let's bust that out a little bit. Everything visible emerges from something invisible. Before a building exists, there was an idea. Before a symphony exists, there's music in the imagination of the composer. Before a movement for justice exists, someone imagines a world that does not yet exist. Before reconciliation happens, someone first imagines forgiveness. Before healing begins, someone becomes willing to imagine wholeness. The visible emerges from the invisible. Now, faith is not magical thinking. That's very important. Faith does not mean if I believe hard enough, I can force the universe to give me exactly what I want. That's not faith. That is control dressed in spiritual language. Faith says, I trust that possibilities exist beyond what I can presently see. There's a difference. Faith does not dictate the outcome. Faith opens the field of possibility. Jesus said in Matthew 17 and 20, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, nothing shall be impossible unto you. You can tell I'm using the King James Version today. I'll say that one more time. If ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, nothing shall be impossible unto you. And why did he use a mustard seed? A seed contains something incredible. It contains a future that is invisible. Go back to the story at the very beginning. Hold a seed in your hand. You cannot see the roots. You cannot see the branches. You cannot see the flowers. You cannot see the seeds from the future generations that will come from the plant this seed grows into. And yet, somehow, all of that potential is in that seed that's in your hand. Faith sees the tree while holding the seed. Despair says, nothing can change. Faith whispers, something may already be changing beneath the surface. Now think about your own life. There have probably been moments when something important was developing long before you recognized it. A relationship, a calling, a new direction, a spiritual awakening. I'd like to tell you a little story about about how I came to be standing right here. You've heard me say many times, I don't know how I got here. I never thought I'd be a minister. And in a way that's true, but in a way it's not, because I think back. I can remember as a teenager, I was in the Methodist Youth Foundation, the MYF. And I don't know why they do it, but sometimes they get a volunteer, one of the youth, to lead the sermon on Sunday morning in front of the whole congregation. Well, that was me. I don't remember what I said. Something from the Gospel of John, because that was my favorite. Why was I the one? Later, I was a senior in high school, didn't know what I wanted to do. I was going to go to college to be an engineer because that's what the counselor said would make a lot of money. But I can remember sitting in the lunchroom talking to my friend. And she was in my mind a very good person, a religious person. She was in a gospel group with her sister and her brother, and they would sing at different churches all around. And I remember confiding in her that I thought I might be a preacher. And she says, well, have you had a calling? I didn't know what that was. I was a Methodist. Now, I guess Methodists have calling too. I don't know. But I know I'd never heard that word before, so I said, nope, I guess not. I'm not going to be a preacher then. Fast forward, I can remember in my college days now, down in Auburn, was taking math because engineering was too hard, and I wanted to have fun while I was down there, so I changed into math, and why that was easier, it just was for me. And I can remember having this dream. I woke up in the morning, and I'd had this dream that I was playing my guitar, and I was singing to, there was a pole, and people all around, and it was this frenzy atmosphere. You know, it wasn't like a church, but it was like a message. And then, the first time I walked through those doors and came into this church, there was no minister here. And I was thinking, you know, about these teachings because I'd read Lessons in Truth. And I knew that was right up my alley. I really felt like I understood it. I understood the message. And I thought, yeah, maybe I could be the minister here. That thought actually went through my head. I remember going back home that night and looking online about what it takes to be a Unity minister. And there was all these classes you had to take, and each one cost $120. And there was like 18 of them, and you had to take those classes before you could even apply to be a minister. I thought, ain't no way. Ain't no way. I work. I have a job. And it doesn't earn me that kind of money anyway, because I was adding it up, you know, multiplying that out, and I'm not doing it in my head. I'm just not. Doesn't matter if I'm a math major. So, then I've been coming here quite a while. And I remember there was a workshop upstairs. We had a guest speaker, and she was doing a workshop for us. Her name was Celia Fila, and she was about this tall. And she had hair as short as mine right now. And my hair was down to here back then. And my beard was down to here. Anyhow, that doesn't matter. What matters was she had that workshop, and in that workshop, I don't know, something emotional came across me, and I knew I had a calling right then. I was in tears. Debbie was there. Reverend Carol was there. I was afraid. I'd never had such overwhelming surges of conflicting emotions at one time, I don't think ever before. I didn't see it coming. But that goes back to this idea of these moments when something important was developing long before I recognized it. You see all these little pointers. Once I went home, part of that fear was, what are people going to say? And I went back home and I shared it with my parents and my mother. I knew it. When did you know it? I knew when you were in high school. How did she know that? Anyhow, she was listening to the sermon. No, I don't know. So looking backwards, we can see this pattern. And that's, that pattern, I can see it when I go back and I think. And that's kind of how that pattern was bringing me through to here. Even the experiences that I had in the Army were all helping me to be able to stand here and do what I'm doing today. I couldn't have done it without everything that happened in my past. And I certainly couldn't have done it when I was in high school and just graduated. While you're living through it, though, it kind of just looks like confusion. All kinds of unknown things. Faith says, I do not need to see the entire pattern to trust the next step. And that was the advice Reverend Carol gave me that day of my calling. She says, you don't need to see how all this is going to work out. You just take it one step at a time. And all of those 18 classes that was going to cost all that money somehow got paid for and got finished. Many of them, Reverend Carol taught me at no cost. It only cost the amount that I was going to pay to Unity to register for the class. She didn't take any fee away. So I'm grateful for her for that. And we should all be grateful for that. Charles Fillmore lists faith as one of our 12 powers, the faculties, the powers that we have as children of God. There's 12 of them. And faith is one. So it's not just some passive belief where I say what I believe. It's a faculty of consciousness. Remember that spiritual perception of what hasn't come about yet. It's our capacity to say there is more happening here than what it looks like. Have you ever thought about faith and fear together? That they have something in common. Both of them are imagining something that hasn't happened yet. How about that? Fear says, what if something goes wrong? Faith says, what else might be possible? Fear uses imagination unconsciously. Faith uses imagination consciously. The question is not whether we imagine the unseen, because we do it all the time. The question is, what unseen reality are we feeding with our attention? What are we giving our attention to? Another one of those faculties of mind is love. What we give our attention to is what we love. What we give our attention to then is what we're attracting into our life. We're putting our faith on what we're giving our attention to. So, my awareness says, what am I doing? Remember the song, that one that Reverend Carol likes so much? Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. What am I giving my attention to? What am I drawing into my life? Reality is deeper than the appearances. What we're seeing out there is not the whole of what it is. Behind any form, there is consciousness. Behind the visible is the invisible. Faith is the faculty that allows us to live from that deeper dimension. Standing here, sitting there right now, we have one foot in what is, and the other foot is what is yet to come. Right now, maybe there's something in your life that looks like bare soil. Bare soil. Nothing is growing yet. The seed's been buried, but it isn't sprouting. Nothing seems to be happening. Don't get up every morning and dig up the seed. It won't grow if you're digging it up constantly to see if it's growing. We water it. We nurture it. We take whatever action is ours to take. And I'm not telling you to go buy a lottery ticket, but you certainly can't win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket. My lesson was, don't buy 10, just buy one. It's the same chance. Same chance, 10, 1, same thing, almost zero. So 20 of them ain't going to help you. Just one. No, I'm not telling you to go buy a lottery, but we have to take the action. You know, we have to put legs on our prayers. That's what Unity says. You hear it at every Unity church. You have to put legs on your prayers. When I needed a new job, I didn't just say my affirmations. I made a resume and I sent it to every company in my town. Every single manufacturing company in the town. One of them called me and hired me on the phone. I didn't get another call. But I've been there 14 years now. Water it, nurture it. Take what action is yours to take. And trust the invisible process. I put my resumes out and I continued my affirmations. And none of my affirmations had anything about a job. All of them were being in line with Spirit, being open to the flow, knowing my wholeness is already here. Can't remember. I'm not going to know you. I can't tell you what Bible verse it is, but put the kingdom of heaven first and all else will be given to you. That's the idea here. Trust the invisible process. Sometimes that first sign of new life is not something you can see. Sometimes it's a root that's quietly growing in the darkness. Now, I've been promising a practical exercise every Sunday. There's going to be a link to this one in the newsletter, and I know it ain't come out yet. It didn't make it on the first, but it'll make it on the second. Before I go to bed tonight, you'll see a newsletter in your inbox. And if I get a new card today, you'll get it too. The exercise I'm calling the open hand. And it's going to apply to every message that we're going to receive this month from me. It's 5 minutes in the morning. Well, it doesn't have to be morning, but it'll take about 5 minutes. So each morning, or whenever you feel that you're facing an uncertainty, sit quietly with your hands resting open. Open hands. Take a slow breath. And then move through these 4 questions. Faith, see beyond. What possibility might I not yet see? There is more here than appearances reveal. The second question has got to do with joy. Find the joy. Where is joy or sacred goodness present right now? Receive the gift of the moment. And prosperity, recognize the good. What abundance is already available, and how can I circulate it? Thank you for the good that's already present. The 4th question, surrender, open the hand. What is mine to do? And what is mine to release? I do what is mine to do. I release what is not mine to control. Then sit quietly for 1 minute, simply being. Become receptive and open. After that minute, affirm, I trust divine order. I trust divine timing. Show me the next step. And so it is. Amen. So there'll be a link to that little document in the newsletter. And it'll be on the webpage soon. I invite you to affirm these affirmations with me. So just repeat after me if you like. I have faith in the invisible presence of God. Faith in the invisible presence of God. Divine possibilities are unfolding beyond what I can presently see. I trust. I listen. I act. And I allow the unseen good to become visible through me. And so it is. The seed beneath the soil